knock knock video or knock knock joke. So for this, I just have the 3 angles, and I also just threw in my establishing shot as well. Wait till you see where this knock knock joke takes in place of, because you know, remember, establishing shots, interior locations aren't actually the same physical locations all the time, not in TV magic. So first, again, I'm going to make a sequence. I'm going to grab my main video clip. I'm going to right click, create a new sequence from clip, rename that sequence so I know what it is. I'm going to get rid of that clip from the timeline. I just need that to create my sequence, and there we go. Bless you. So first, I'm going to create my establishing shot. So I'm going to use this video clip right here as my establishing shot. So this conversation takes place inside a church, in case you didn't know. This is what I have on my hard drive. So there's the shot I want. Just got a couple seconds of that. So do a little in, a little out. Now you'll see, this is that warning that some people were getting before. This clip does not match the sequence settings. Change sequence to match this clip settings, question mark. And I'm going to say, no, I want to keep the settings because I just threw in a 4K video onto an HD size. So now let's look at our video clips. So we're going to find, here's a...
Oh, continuity. See?
Where should I put them? Just where you sound.
Is that how she had it the first time?
No. I just think it looks
Do you think it looks better?
wet. I think
Okay.
a knock knock joke you can cross your arms.
Okay, ready? Look at each other. Action. Knock knock.
Who's there?
Interrupting cow.
Interrupting cow.
Moo. Okay, ready? One more time. Reset. Action. Knock knock.
Who's there?
Interrupting cow.
Interrupting cow.
Moo.
Now, one thing I subtly did there while they're recording, see these little green icons that are on the screen all of a sudden? I threw in a couple markers at the beginning of each take just so I could reference them over again. I didn't alter anything. I just, as I was watching it, I pressed the M key on the keyboard for marker just to place some markers. So at the beginning of each take, I placed the marker. That's just helpful for my editing process later on. And in fact, these markers, you can go in and you can give those markers a name. You can give them a comment. They're very helpful. So when you're doing editing projects, say you need to remember you want to change something later on. You make a marker there. You give yourself a note on the marker. Then you can go back and change it later on. So I'm also going to look at my other angles here and do the same thing real quick.
Confirm speed. And she confirms.
Oh,
So
action.
it's and action. Knock knock.
Who's there?
Interrupting cow.
Interrupting cow.
Moo.
Background people look very engaged.
Action. Knock knock.
Who's there?
Interrupting cow.
Interrupting cow.
Moo. Ready when you are. Knock knock.
Who's there?
Interrupting cow.
Interrupting cow.
Moo.
Do it from this angle.
I would say once you record, it's good to like let 5 seconds roll.
Okay.
And
Do that.
then action. Knock knock.
Who's there?
Interrupting cow.
Interrupting cow.
Moo. And action. Knock knock.
Who's there?
Interrupting cow.
Interrupting cow.
Moo. Last time. Knock
Who's there?
knock.
Interrupting cow.
Moo.
All right, so we got our 3 angles. I made a little quick markers. So we'll just start with this first take. So with multiple takes, you of course want to go through, find the best option for everything. I'm going to use this one right now. But I only want that very first part, just the first part where he's talking.
Knock knock.
So
Knock knock.
mark an in.
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Interrupting
So I want that knock knock, who's there? Now I'm going to cut to a different angle. So I got the knock knock, who's there? Dropped it in my timeline. Guys, thank you. And now he has the next line, so I'm going to go to a shot of him.
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Oh, you close your eyes when you say it. Oh.
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Interrupting. Irony. Interrupting cow.
Interrupting cow.
Interrupting cow.
Dialogue gets tricky. Then go to her response.
There.
Interrupting cow.
Interrupting. There.
Interrupting cow.
Interrupting cow.
Oh.
She had to interrupt the cow, didn't she? It's gonna be tricky. Because I want to go back to the last shot, or the first shot.
Oh.
I don't know if it's gonna match right, but we're gonna try it. So again, I like to just do a quick assembly and then get fine-tune my edit once everything's on the thing. It's a little too long. We'll get rid of some of that. Establish where we are, and then we cut internal.
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Interrupting cow.
Interrupting cow.
Oh.
Yeah, see, that doesn't work right there. What we're trying to do here now, we want to make nice, clean edits and make sure we don't have any audio overflows and things like that. Oops, I went.
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Interrupting cow.
Interrupting cow.
I actually want to.
Interrupting cow.
Oh.
That actually works pretty well there. So here we go. First thing I do, find those in and out points I want to use. Again, I start with assembly. I'm not doing fine edits in the source window. All you're doing in the source window is find those rough edit points. This is where I think I want to use it, getting them into the timeline. Once they're in the timeline now, I'm going through and I'm listening to each part. I'm not even looking. I'm actually just listening to it to see what sounds good as well as see what to hear what sounds good. Sorry, as well as see what sounds good.
Interrupting cow.
Interrupting cow.
And this is a kind of a process where you kind of watch the same thing over and over and over again.
Who's there?
Interrupt.
So we'll take it one edit at a time. We'll look at this first edit. So we have them talking.
Who's there?
Interrupting cow.
So that's a pretty good edit.
There.
Interrupting cow.
We'll look at the second one.
Cow.
Interrupting cow.
Cow.
Interrupting cow.
Oh.
So the one tricky thing is I'm trying to actually cut in the middle of her sentence because it's the interrupting cow. I want that reaction shot of the two of them together. But you can see she starts saying cow there and finishes saying cow on the next one. And in fact, if you look at your audio, this is where looking at audio becomes important as well. I'm going to just zoom in a lot here. Right here, this is where she starts saying cow, and she says it here too.
Cow. Cow.
In fact, it's very fast, but if you listen, everyone listen up to this. I'll turn up the volume too. She says cow right now.
Cow. 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 Cow.
Obviously, we don't want her to say cacao, who, cacao, cacao, cacao. We want to say cow, and him say who. So, a couple ways you can deal with this. One, I could just trim the audio and video back and forth until I get that right spot. I could take away from this video here and add to hers, so
Cow.
it's a little bit cleaner that way.
Cap.
Still a little tricky, but I'm getting there. Oops.
Cap.
In fact, that's a pretty good edit spot there.
Cap.
So that's one way to do it. The other way, I'm going to undo a bunch of that. And we talked about this last week. We were talking about, if you want to use the audio from one angle but the video from another angle. So we're going to undercut or overcut different clips. So before we had that linked selection, we made it was turned on so that way we move things together. I'm going to shut that off now. And so I know I want the video to cut here, but I want the audio to cut a little later. So now I can actually move the audio this way and find the spot where I want it. Maybe like that. And right now I'm creating an L cut. So it looks like a letter L here because the audio is extending underneath the next video clip. Actually worked out pretty well. Now if I went the other way, that would be a J cut. So just by adjusting the audio a little bit that way, it cleans up the edit, makes a nice edit point, and visually speaking, works pretty well. So when you watch the whole thing, there's a little establishing shot.
Knock.
Who's there?
Interrupting cow.
Interrupting cap.
Now, I have the basic elements put together now. One thing you notice, the downside, I'm starting with this establishing shot. There's no audio here, and we go into audio. Now, it's not the cleanest of audio. It has a little background noise to it, so you don't want to just come into it. Whenever I have something that has background noise, the easiest thing to do to kind of soften the blow of that, even when you're coming from silence to noise in general, you don't just want to cut in. Unless you're doing a dramatic effect where you want it to be absolute silence to noise. Conversation-wise, usually I want a little bit of a transition, a little bit of a dissolve or a crossfade, just so it's not a sudden chop of audio. So I'm just going to create a little dissolve. So that's just like going to your effects tab, finding your audio transitions and dragging that over. Or you can hit the shortcut, which is Command D. So if you just select the end of it, I want to put a transition there, I hit Shift D, I created a little transition.
Knock.
Who's there?
Interrupting cow.
So it's a little softer of a transition now. And now for the knock knock joke, we also want a little music at the beginning. So we go back to the well here. Yeah, we need that much. That was even more than we need. Okay.
Knock.
Obviously, we don't need to go that long.
Knock.
Who's there?
Interrupting cow.
Interrupting cap.
So yeah, add a little music, and now we can also even add a title. It's a weird juxtaposition of about what I'm about to do on top of a church. Oops. Now, some of the cool things with the titles, if I want this to be perfectly centered, on the right here, you see I have a little align and transform button. If I hit align, this aligns it perfectly in the middle, vertically and centered. But you'll notice I used white on something that's white. I can't read half of that title. So couple things you could do. You could change the color of it. So if I need to change the color of title, down here on the bottom under appearance, the fill is the color of the title. So if I want to change that to say black, I can just click on that fill area, select a new color, and it becomes that color. Or maybe I want to add a drop shadow. So I can turn that on, and you'll see it adds a little drop shadow around all the letters, which it makes it stand out and easier to read right away. And again, you can change the color of that drop shadow by clicking on the box and changing it. You can also change the distance that the drop shadow is away from the words for dramatic effect. So maybe you just want a little subtle. This changes the angle of the shadow, so you can make it be wherever you need it to be. I want to move all this over a little bit. I do want my opening to be at least 3 seconds.
Knock knock.
Who's it?
Interrupting cow.
Interrupting cat.
Moo.
And then at the end, I'm going to add some more titles because I'm just going to put a little little credits. Oh, I can't see anything because it's black, right? Go back to I don't like how that looks. I like to throw things out and then destroy it. Delete. There. Seg. Oops. Actor 1. Wait. Yeah, because you talk first. That was way too big. And bring in some music at the end again. Now, one thing I didn't mention before, which I should mention, is a couple quick things. So we talked about putting transitions on the ends. Also, if you want to put transitions between clips as well, if I wanted to dissolve to my credits at the end here, I can again take a dissolve transition and I can drop it right on this edit point between the two clips. So it cross dissolves, or another kind of transition between the clips. One thing I totally didn't mention at all today, which I should have. On the right here, you probably noticed this is where your audio readout is. I'm going to mute it, but we'll watch it, but we won't hear it, so I can talk. So this is our audio and how loud they are. Remember from our podcasting production, you want your dialogue to be between -12 and -6. Like that's where we want to be around. You also don't want to make sure your music stays down there as well. If you're going up here and you're getting, if I make this too loud here, you see I just got a little red blip there, so I peaked. The music went too loud. If it just touches it once in a while, it usually isn't a big deal. But if you're consistently up there, one, it's just too loud. And two, when you start exporting this stuff, depending on what the audio is, it'll definitely be distorted in your final video that you create. So you want to keep it out of that red area. You can be pushing it with some things, but you really don't want to be in there. And we're not doing it with this, but if we had music underneath our dialogue, we definitely want to make sure that music level is far below our dialogue level. So that way we can still hear the dialogue and not have it being overwhelmed by the music